All right, so this is a suggestion via a donation. The name of the video is, why are there giants in South America on old maps? Guys, I have no idea. You guys may have gotten me pretty much easily with this one here. I can only think of maybe something referring to maybe Anunnaki, the concept of the Anunnaki. Maybe, guys. But, oh wait, God, well, hold on. What about this? What about this, really quickly? Maybe the people that made the maps were from some extremely high mountains region, like maybe Peru, right? And they're from the place we cannot name because it sounds like a whole lot of, terrible words to say on YouTube. That lake, you get what I'm saying here, guys? Maybe they're from somewhere in this region, and they just so happen to be maybe around 4'10", 5 feet, or maybe the Bushmen in Africa also potentially around that height, referring to the Khoisan tribe, maybe. I'm just trying to think. Maybe they're just extremely short people, and they're seeing people that are maybe 6'3", 6'4" for the first time, and they're like, "Oh yeah, these are giants." Maybe. Let's get it. Let's check it out. Here we go.
The existence of giants here is confirmed. This was written in a letter to the French Academy of Sciences in 1766 by Dr. Matthew Matty, Secretary of the British Royal Society. He was referring to the confirmation of giants at the southern end of South America by English explorer John Byron. But reports of giants in this part of the world went back more than 2 centuries.
Okay.
Let's go to raremaps.com and take another look at a map we talked a bit about.
Why are these maps this much money? Are they the real sheet of paper that was created
a month ago? This is a 1544 map of the Americas by Sebastian Munster.
Okay.
In the video last month, we covered the Sea of Verrazano and the story behind its discovery. But there are more interesting features on this.
Bro, they got that. They got the Americas all wrong. What is that?
Map, one of which are the Latin words Regio Gigantum.
Let's just try the giant region, maybe, but most like it's region of giants or giants region. Let's see where this takes us, but it's going to be one of these things, most likely region of giants.
This translates to the region of giants. This map isn't alone. If we search the term giants, depictions of giants in the same region pop up. Giants certainly don't live here today. So who were these giants, and what happened to them? The first sightings by Europeans of these giants was in 1520 by Ferdinand Magellan and his crew on his circumnavigation of the world. Magellan was killed before making it back to Spain, but his assistant, Antonio Pigafetta, wrote this. One day we saw a naked man of giant structure on the shore of the port, dancing, singing, and throwing dust on his head. When the giant was in the captain general's and our presence, he marveled greatly, and made signs with one finger raised upwards, believing that we had come from the sky. He was so tall that we reached only to his waist, and he was well proportioned. Magellan named these giants Patagons. While Pigafetta never explained Magellan's reasons for the name, it's been long assumed that pata came from a Portuguese and Spanish word to mean foot, though he may have taken the name from a literary figure in a Spanish novel of the early 16th century. Either way, the name eventually stuck, and the region became known as Patagonia, which is interpreted to mean land of the big feet.
Right.
Magellan allegedly captured 2 giants to take back to Spain and prove their existence. But like Magellan and the majority of his men, the giants didn't survive the journey, and apparently their remains were disposed of.
Of course, who needs proof? Right? Let's just say there were giants. Now, don't get me wrong, there have absolutely been giant humans on this planet. And what I mean by that is at least we can prove a guy, Robert Wadlow, almost 9 feet tall. Right? There are a couple of people, I think, still alive that are in the 8 feet. So, like, keep that in mind. I understand there are people who are absolutely massive humans. Could these be the giants that they're referring to? But it's also super weird for the region, though, because this region of the planet generally did not create super tall people. So that's concerning, guys. Right? But, all right.
But it didn't matter if there was tangible proof. The Spanish's accounts began to appear on maps. In 1579, Sir Francis Drake's ship chaplain, Francis Fletcher, also wrote about meeting very tall natives on their circumnavigation. Men in height and greatness, so extraordinary that they hold no comparison with any of the sons of men this day in the world. Okay. But he claimed that they were quite a bit shorter than what the Spanish had described. He put the tallest at around 7.5 feet in height. Though shorter, these English reports only seem to confirm the giants' existence. Maybe the English just didn't see the tallest of them. Tall natives and what could be described as giants continued to be reported throughout the end of the century. In 1587, English explorer Thomas Cavendish reported giants' footprints in the region. And Cavendish's companion, Anthony Knivet, claimed to have seen living giants that were 13 spans, or 9 feet tall, and a dead body that was even taller.
Okay.
Before the turn of the...
Here's the thing, guys. I'm trying to logic my way out of this, guys, because this is confusing. 7'5" is absolutely tall. Like, even still, right now, that's pretty tall. Now, there are basketball players that have been a lot taller. Manute Bol, George Murasan, Sean Bradley. Like, these are people who are absolutely gigantic. Are they giants? Yeah, I mean, kind of. But, I mean, I guess when I'm thinking of a giant, I'm thinking of, like, 50 feet tall. Right? I mean, I get it. That may sound absolutely ridiculous, but when I hear the word giant, I think that. Do they have, like, gigantism, potentially? Right? Some issue with their pituitary gland, most likely? Probably, right? Are things oddly genetic sometimes? Yes. If you're tall, are you going to have tall kids? If your wife is tall, or the woman that you have babies with is tall, probably. You're going to have tall offsprings. So now imagine a man 6'6", a woman, I don't know, 6'3". You're gonna have tall babies, bro. Right? There's a family on like one of the social media platforms. I forgot. Sorry, right? Where like the father is like 7 foot and the son is like 7'2" or some craziness, and then the wife is like 7'5", and then the daughter is like 6'3", right? Like, so you have all of these super wild numbers, right? Coming from one household. Just like this is gonna sound super derogatory. I don't know if I should say it. But there's like a family in I'm forgetting, either Mexico or somewhere, or Central America or South America, but in this region, right? And I think they call them like wolf people or something like that. But I don't mean to sound derogatory. I just don't know what else to call them, right? Where like the father literally has hair growing all over his face and his neck, kind of like a werewolf type of thing, right? And then he passed this on genetically to his kids. You know, I mean, maybe these super tall people are really just a family of people, and they just so happen to not care about, you know, copulating with their sister, right? And they're just creating more of these beings, right? They're human, absolutely. Are they monstrously tall? Most likely. But I also don't think that there's anyone really over 8 feet tall that is in a human body that's able to really maintain themselves. Because listen, at the higher end of 7 feet, it becomes pretty impossible for your knees to kind of maintain the weight of you. That's why when you see these super tall people, they tend to either be walking on crutches or canes or anything that they can do to maintain their 400 to 500 pound body. Yes, right? So I don't know. It's troubling. Could there be super tall people in South America? Maybe, but where did the bloodline go? Because again, we don't really have many super tall people coming from South America.
Century, 2 Dutch captains wrote about encounters with these giants. One said they were 10 or 11 feet tall, and another 10 to 12 feet. But only what he called the Turimanan tribe were that tall. He stated that the other tribes in the region were of average height.
Okay.
In the 18th century, on-the-ground reports were mixed. Some accounts say that there were, in fact, giants, while others said that they were taller than Europeans, but could not be described as giants. And a couple even reported that they were...
That's more likely. Average
in height. Patagons continued to be labeled on maps in the 18th century, though their depictions as giants on maps became less common, which can probably be attributed to style changes. But here is one from 1752 with an image drawn outside of the map itself. In 1767, an account of British naval captain John Byron was published. In it, he confirmed their existence, and alongside it was an image of a family of giants with a member of his crew offering them a biscuit. This account is why Dr. Matthew Matty wrote to the French Academy of Sciences that giants here is confirmed. He went on to write, "Between 400 and 500 Patagonians of at least 8 or 9 feet in height have been seen and examined by the company of one of our ships just returned from a voyage around the world." And this letter was published in the London Chronicle for all to see. But soon after, one of France's most prestigious scientific journals published a claim that the British had made the whole thing up to distract from the mercenary purpose of England's ships off the coast of Argentina. And in 1773, another book...
Guys, a couple of years ago, I would say almost a decade ago, the crew of Top Gear went somewhere in South America and had a lot of issues exclusively because they were British. I'm wondering if the reason why they had so many issues, like to the point where they had to like get rushed out of the hotel when they found out that there were like some British guys here, right? You understand what I'm saying? So I wonder if that had anything to do with it, like some historical beef that is just not like being handled correctly.
Was published that includes accounts of famous explorers of the day, which included John Byron. It turned out Byron's before published accounts were nothing more than rumors. Byron officially stated, "One of them, who afterwards appeared to be a chief, came towards me. He was of a gigantic stature, and seemed to realize the tales of monsters in a human shape. If I may judge of his height by the proportion of his stature to my own, it could not be much less than 7 feet." In 1767, another British naval officer, Captain Samuel Wallace, took measurements of his own, but instead of estimating, he brought with him a measuring rod to Patagonia.
Okay.
The tallest man he measured was 6 feet 7 inches, but he reported most were between 5 feet 10 inches and 6 feet tall.
Yeah, see, and this sounds more likely. So you mean he was 1 inch taller than Michael Jordan? Basically. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's absolutely monstrous, and it's probably the reason why he's a chief, right? Because, I mean, think about the times. Trust me, he looked like the most alpha man that could exist, most likely, if he's walking around with that type of height on him. Yeah, he did. Absolutely.
In a 1774 book, a Jesuit missionary named Thomas Faulkner, who spent almost 40 years amongst the tribes of Patagonia, mentions a chief 7 feet and some inches tall. And he also states, "The Patagonians are a large-bodied people, but I have never heard of that gigantic race which others have mentioned, though I have seen persons of all the different tribes of southern Indians." For most, these 3 accounts put an end to the belief in Patagonian giants. It is now thought that these accounts were describing the Tuwelch Indians, who are native to the Patagonian area of Argentina.
Okay.
At an average height of 6 foot or 1.8 meters at the time, to the average European, the natives would have certainly seemed large.
Yeah.
Europeans were only 5'5" or 1.6 meters on average.
That's kind of what I guessed in the beginning. Kind of, for the most part. It was just like, well, I didn't think that the Europeans were that short. I mean, don't get me wrong. Living in Spain, I can tell you that everyone is short, right? Like everyone is short. Everyone, it seems, right? If they're from there, they're short, guys. So I can imagine coming to America right now, they would easily call it the land of giants, as you see everyone on average is 6 feet and up, guys. It seems like, at least 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot, 6'2", 6'6", etc. I have a couple of people in my family who are literally, I guess by this definition, giant. I have a younger cousin who is 6'7". I have an uncle who is 7'2". So like, then I have another cousin who's 6'7". So like, and then a lot of the women in my family are like 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", and then I have a female cousin who's 6'4". So like, you know, for outside looking in, guys, if a person from Europe comes here. Like, and I'm not talking about like North Europe. That's something different, right? But like South Europe, like the ones who were the majority were the ones who were coming to the Americas. Yeah, bro. They saw these people and were like, "Yeah, you're a giant. Absolutely, giant."
Though the term giants may have been a bit of an exaggeration.
It's a stretch.
If giants did exist in the region, they probably would have been wiped out by disease or genocide. But no archaeological evidence that they existed has ever been found. Nor was any evidence brought back to Europe, despite alleged attempts.
Right, give me the evidence.
The most likely explanation...
I mean, listen. The British went to all these countries. They took a lot of artwork, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You should have, at the very least, brought back the bones, bro. All right? Put that in a museum. We would love to see it if it existed, but it doesn't. So, okay.
For there not being any giant sightings in the modern era, and what started the myth to begin with was published just 100 years after Magellan's circumnavigation. Sir Francis Drake's nephew wrote, Magellan was not altogether deceived in naming them giants, for they generally differ from the common sort of men, but yet they are nothing so
common from his standpoint,
monstrous or giant-like as they were reported, there being some Englishmen as tall as the highest of any that we could see. But peradventure the Spaniards did not think that ever any Englishman would come thither to reprove them. Thank you, RareMaps.com, for supporting this video. RareMaps.com is an online antique map shop with over 10,000 authentic antique maps in their inventory.
Authentic?
These are original maps, not reprints. By purchasing one of these maps, you'll really own a piece of history. And as you saw in the video, in their inventory, they have maps with depictions of Patagonian Giants. Again, that's RareMaps.com. And that's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you.
Guys, this was a really good thought experiment. I never really thought about it. I didn't even, listen, I've seen old maps. I didn't notice that they did tend to have like photos of things, right? Like the Atlas of Catalan. By that same definition, if we look at that very specific map that was created, you'll think that everyone on there was a giant because they were drawn large. You get what I'm saying here? So I thought that it was just like a slight visual depiction of the style of dress that people wore in certain areas, right? That's how I saw it, at least. But I guess I was wrong. People literally thought that there were giants. But all right. Listen, let me know in the comments the next subject we should be checking out, and I will get into that as soon as I possibly can. All right? And listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day, and enjoy your day thoroughly.